Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be talking about the stage debate in Smash Ultimate, specifically if we should legalize more stages and if we should have characters first or stages first, because that's a lot of debate on Twitter right now. I'm seeing a lot of things go around about it and I have a couple takes on it, as well as I want to talk about the current stage meta because I think it could be better, but let's just get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is PS2, and this is mainly a problem in America, but I see it in other countries as well. People are just way too comfortable with only going PS2. Counterpicking in Ultimate can be very, very important, especially when you have people playing multiple characters, and just only having one stage that you're comfortable on isn't really going to cut it. Like, obviously it can work, but you're giving yourself such a disadvantage by, let's say someone just bans PS2 because it's not great for their character. Then you're kind of screwed, as well as some characters being really, really strong on PS2, but people just don't ban the stage because they're like, oh, I can play on PS2, I'm good on that stage. I feel like people, at least towards like the lower level or like the mid level, I feel like it's getting a lot better at the top level, which is like good to see because it used to like just be PS2, like it was bad. But towards the lower level, I think people are just way too comfortable in just knowing PS2. You should be playing to your character's strengths. You should be picking stages that you like are helpful for you and bad for your opponent. And obviously, it's okay to be wheeling on PS2 a lot. Even if you want to start on PS2 against a lot of characters, that's okay. It's a pretty typical neutral stage, but like you should be banning, you should be trying to counterpick opponents, because if you just lost there, then I don't know why you wouldn't pick something that makes the stage more in your favor. I do think people just need to get a little better at picking other stages, just having stage diversity, because I just think it's going to make you stronger as a player. It's going to make it so you have a better chance at winning the set. It's also going to make it so your opponent, who's also probably very comfortable on PS2, even if you're the most comfortable on PS2, like basically everyone is. That is the stage that everyone is good on. You should have another stage that you feel like you can excel on, that you're able to counterpick so you have more comfortable, so you can actually get yourself back into a set instead of just running it back, same characters, same stage. You're probably going to have the same chance of just not winning the game. So I think people really need to consider their counterpicks more, and in general, please don't pick PS2 every single time, especially against characters it's really good on, because you're just giving them a huge advantage. Next up, I want to talk about the stages that we actually have in the game, because I would like to see more. I'm someone that I think is a huge advocate for just more stages in Ultimate, because I feel like a lot of the counterpicks right now are just like, okay, you go to dual plat, tri-plat, or flat, and that's basically all you have. There's like a little bit of variety in some stages. I like Town and Smashville. I think those stages have cool layouts as well. Those are probably my two favorites, to be honest. But I'd like to add some new ones. We also have tournaments turning on Hollow Bastion, which I really like. Lylat was on at Genesis, but I know a lot of people don't like Lylat. I'm pro Lylat because I just like the idea of like having three platforms on the same level, but I get that people don't like it because of the slant, so maybe you don't have that one on. You could also have some crazier ones on, like you could have WarioWare on, you could have like Mario Circuit. Those are some stages with some flaws, but again, I think having an extreme counterpick could be really cool, but I also want to see tournaments like just really, really normalize a stage like Northern Cave or even like Unova. Probably Northern Cave, I like that setup a little bit more. But I think those stages are just like very interesting, kind of Kalos-esque, but you have the platforms that are more interactable on the stage. I just want counterpicking to be stronger because, again, I feel like in Ultimate right now, you don't really need to counterpick because, like, oh, I'll just pick PS2 because all the other stages are like similar enough where it doesn't really matter. So I'd like to have some more variety in the stages. Obviously, you'd have to add more bands with stages. Maybe you have like I don't know how many stages have you, like 7 or 8, and then you have 3 or 4 bands depending on how many it is. Like, I think just more bands in Ultimate and more stages to have could add to a lot more variety in this game, which I think could be really cool. But I also understand the other side of like, no, there's 80 characters in this game. I don't want to learn the variety of all the setups on different stages, but there's also the argument of, again, like, oh, I like to be more creative. I'd like to actually use the stage to my counterpick instead of just like it only being the characters, like actually the stages being involved, being important. There's definitely different ways to look at it, and I see the value to all points. But I personally would just like to see some more stages in the mix, and I think it could add to some pretty interesting games, just how people are going to interact with the platforms differently. Also, really quickly, because I'm just curious, I forgot to talk about it. I want to know your guys' thoughts on DSR and modified DSR, which one you prefer, even if you want neither of them, which rule sets do you prefer. And I'm also curious to think about what people think with hazards on versus off, because there's a couple stages where hazards should 100% be off, like PS2, Call come to mind, but I think every other stage is like, yeah, I could definitely see arguments for why I'd want these platforms to be around, certain things to interact. Like, I think it could be really cool. Again, makes matches different, adds more variables for the game, which people might not like, but it also adds to mid-time adjustment, makes players react a little bit better. Like, oh, here's how I have to deal with this situation. Just to be like, I've been here a million times. It kind of makes things a little bit more exciting, can add to more variety. So I'm curious what you guys think about those factors. And like, I don't know, I guess just other rules to the Smash game, because I'm just really curious about what people think of the current state of Smash. Because obviously there's some characters that people like don't enjoy, but like there's other things like, should we increase the timer? I think that's probably the biggest one. Maybe y'all want to see 2-stock or 4-stock. I think 3-stock's perfect for this game, but like, hey, maybe I could see arguments for like maybe 2 stock? I don't actually know. I think it's probably 3 stock still, but let me know what you guys think. Again, sorry for this little segment, just thought something that I should add because I am genuinely curious. But in the meat and potatoes, the main thing that I want to talk about in this video is going to be stages or characters first, which one should be banned. Now, I think it should be stages first, but there are obviously 2 ways to look at this. Through character first, you want to look at it like, okay, if I am down, I should always have the advantage in the counter pick. I should always know, okay, here's where I should be kicking to my advantage because I just lost, I need something to help me. In stages first, you have it so you are rewarded for playing a secondary because some stages you just have to ban. I think Akala is a great example. If you ever pick FD versus Akala, he's just going to go Kazuya against you. And that is super, super strong that you just have to ban that stage versus that player. And it's rewarding him for playing a secondary because if you don't go that, he's going to go Kazuya and he's going to mess you up. So you're rewarding people that are either playing secondaries or you're rewarding the player that just lost because they need the advantage. And again, I think you should reward people for playing secondaries because it is putting in a lot of hard work. Playing 2 characters at a super top level, especially to the point where you need to ban a stage because you can't face my character on that stage, is pretty impressive. Or even not just ban a stage, like even just like you literally just can't pick this stage versus me in both winning and losing matchups. It's like it's very, very impressive that you're able to do that, and I think it gives a huge advantage to people that do play multiple characters. But I also think you should be rewarded for playing multiple characters because you're dividing your time into 2 different things. Probably you're not going to be as strong as someone who's just playing the one character if you're putting in about the same amount of time. So I think that is one of the ways to encourage people to play multiple characters, which I do think is the feature of Ultimate. But there's also a lot of people in this game that only solo main because that's just how most people play games. Like find their one character that like they spend most of their time in there because that's just who they enjoy the most. They're going to want to invest the most time in it, get the best they can with that one specific character, and then they can kind of feel cheated out of like a counter pick because it's like, okay, well I counter picked FD because it's good for my character, and then he went Kazuya or he went Peach, he went Grenade. It's like, okay, well I counter picked Battlefield, then oh then he went Mario, he counter picked me, and it's like you're never truly having the advantage. You don't know how to get back into a set, and there's definitely a lot of ways to look at it, which I think is really, really interesting because it super changes. Like the stage, it matters a lot then, but then there's also people that's like, oh, it doesn't matter, I'm just going PS2 anyway, and I guess that rule doesn't really apply to them, but then like, you know what I'm getting at. I think it's a really interesting topic. Now again, I am pro stage first because I really think we should reward people for counter picking. I just think that makes it better at the game. If you're playing 2 characters, you're more likely to just be better at Smash because let's say you only play Wario, you're just a Wario player. You don't play Smash, you play Wario. Now, obviously, you do play Smash, but there's certain characters that exemplifies this a lot. I think like characters like Steve or Kazuya, even characters with like mechanics like Float or Monado Arts, they're playing a kind of different game than everyone else. But if you're playing 2 characters, it's like, okay, your funnies are just good because you have to adapt to different ways in different scenarios. I think that it just makes the level of play higher when people are playing different characters, but let me know what you guys think. Sorry this video got a little bit more ranty, but it's just a discussion I wanted to talk about, and I didn't really have a video idea for tonight, so I'm curious on what you guys think. Thank you for watching. Sport's been absolutely unreal lately. Sorry this video is a little bit less short, a little bit less edited, but again, I just kind of wanted to talk about a discussion that I thought was pretty interesting, but seeing it again on Twitter, so give me your guys' takes. Thank you for everything. Sport's been absolutely unreal, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.